It was only supposed to be one day, one perfect lie, just a little taste of what it felt like. To be seen, to be chosen, to be her. Jang Eun-ji had always lived in someone else's shadow. Same birthday, same DNA, but never the same life. While Eun-ha shined on stage, Eun-ji sat in the third row. While Eun-ha posed for photos, Eun-ji turned her face. While Eun-ha got love confessions weekly, Eun-ji got, "Wait, you're her sister. Same eyes, same lips, same voice, different everything else." Eun-ha wore skirts, perfume, eyeliner. Eun-ji wore baggy jeans, oversized hoodies, and headphones she never actually used, just to avoid talking to people. But sometimes, she imagined, what if she wore the right clothes? What if she smiled the right way? Would they still walk past her? Would anyone ever notice me? She whispered into the mirror once. That morning started like any other, except it wasn't. Eun-ha was sick, real fever, real cough, real red nose. "Just skip class," Eun-ji said, placing a cold towel on her sister's forehead. "I can't," Eun-ha groaned. "Today's the volleyball match." Eun-ji raised an eyebrow. "So?" Eun-ha stared at her, pale but serious. Ji-hoon. The name alone made Eun-ji freeze. Kim Ji-hoon, captain of the boys' volleyball team, perfect hair, easy laugh, effortlessly kind. He had smiled at her once. Correction. He had smiled near her once, and it took her 3 weeks to stop thinking about it. Eun-ha leaned forward. "You have to go. Just pretend to be me. Sit in the stands. Cheer for him. Please." "What?" "It's one afternoon. Are you insane?" But Eun-ha's face softened. "You owe me." She didn't say why. Didn't mention the time she covered for Eun-ji's failed science project, or how she lied to their parents when Eun-ji stayed out late. Reading at the bookstore, she just said, "You owe me." And suddenly the idea didn't feel so crazy. Eun-ji stood in front of the mirror in her sister's room. She touched the eyeliner, the gloss, the curls. She wore Eun-ha's school blazer, buttoned it properly. She adjusted her posture. Practiced. Her smile. And for a moment, she wasn't herself. She was her. At school, no one questioned it. No one ever looked close enough to tell. A few girls waved. A few boys said hi. And when she walked into the gym, Ji-hoon looked up from across the court and smiled right at her. She nearly forgot how to breathe. The game started. She sat on the front row, cheered when he scored, blushed when he winked in. Her direction. She had never felt this way before, like the air bent around her, like she mattered. After the game, he came over, sweaty, smiling. "Thanks for coming," he said. She nodded, unsure what her sister would say. "Are you okay?" he asked. "You're different today," she swallowed. "Just tired," he laughed. "Tired looks good on you." Her heart exploded. Then he said, "Want to grab a drink?" What was she supposed to say? No? Not when he was looking at her like that. Like she wasn't invisible, like she was the main character. She nodded and followed him out of the gym. They walked in silence for a few minutes. Then he said something that stopped her heart. "I've always liked you, you know." She blinked. "What?" "I just thought you were a little out of reach, like always smiling, always perfect. But today you seem real." Her throat tightened. He didn't know. He was talking to a stranger, to a fake. But it didn't feel fake. Not the way he looked at her. Not the way her hands trembled when they almost touched. Not the way her stomach flipped when he said her name. Even if it was her sister's, they sat outside the convenience store. He bought her banana milk. She hated banana milk, but she drank every drop because he had handed it to her, because this was his world, and she wanted to be inside it, even just for a day. As the sun began to set, he looked at her. Really looked. "You know," he said softly, "I thought I had you figured out. But maybe I didn't." She stared back, heart pounding. Maybe he saw her. Not her makeup, not her hair, not her sister. Her. The girl behind the glasses, behind the hoodie, behind the silence. He walked her home. They stopped at the gate. He hesitated. She held her breath. Then he leaned in and touched her wrist. Not a kiss, not yet, just enough to spark something. "See you tomorrow?" he asked. She nodded, and he walked away. Eun-ji stood there for a long time after he left, hands trembling, eyes burning, not from guilt, not yet, from something worse. Hope. When she walked into her room, Eun-ha was asleep, still pale, still sick, still. Perfect. Eun-ji looked in the mirror again, this time without the gloss, without the curls, just her own face, and whispered, "Just one more day." The lie was supposed to end after one day, but it didn't, because the next morning, Ji-hoon texted her. Ji-hoon, still tired or just mysterious again? She stared at the screen, heart racing. He had never messaged her before. Not when she was herself, only now when she was someone else, when she was Eun-ha, the popular twin, the twin who belonged, the twin who was wanted. Eun-ji stared into the mirror, no makeup yet, no gloss, just her. She should have told him the truth. She almost did. But instead, she typed back Eun-ji as Eun-ha, "Maybe I'm just warming up to you," and pressed send that week. They texted every night. He asked her questions no one had ever cared to ask. What's your favorite song lyric? What's the worst thing you've ever said to yourself? What do you think about when it's completely quiet? She answered all of them, and not as Eun-ha, as herself. And every time he replied with something that made her feel seen, not just looked at, seen. On Thursday, he asked her out again, not as a date, just boba tea after school. She said yes. Wore one of her sister's jackets, but kept her own shoes, a small rebellion, a quiet detail. That night they talked about everything, music, parents, fears. He told her, "Everyone always thinks I have it all together. I don't." She whispered, "Same." He looked at her like he had never heard that word before from someone like her. After their third outing, he said something that made her heart stop. They were sitting on a park bench. It was late. Cool air. Streetlights humming. And he turned to her. "You're not like I thought you were," he said. She froze. "I mean, you're you, but deeper, like I always thought you were this social, confident girl. But now you feel real, like there's something underneath." Her voice caught. He added, "You're not pretending with me, right?" She wanted to scream, cry, tell him everything. But she just said, "No, not pretending," and hated herself for it. At school, people noticed, hushed whispers when they walked together in the hallway. "Since when are they close? I thought she liked quiet guys." She's glowing. Eun-ha's friends even sent her messages. "You seem different. Lately, softer." She deleted them all. Back home, Eun-ha was finally better. She twirled in front of the mirror, testing outfits again. "Did anyone ask about me?" she said casually. Eun-ji hesitated, then shrugged. "They assumed you were just busy." Eun-ha laughed. "Well, I'm back now." And Eun-ji smiled, pretending nothing had changed, even though everything had. But she couldn't stop. Not now. Not when Ji-hoon kept choosing her, texting her, laughing with her. He sent her songs and said, "This sounds like you." He drew a small doodle of her on a napkin and wrote, "You in my mind." He looked at her like she was the girl, not just a girl. One afternoon, they sat under the trees behind the gym. No one else around, just them. He rested his head on her shoulder for a moment. She didn't move, didn't breathe. Then he whispered, "Never thought the girl everyone loves could be so..." She waited, heart in her throat. So deep. That word, deep, not pretty, not cool, not popular, but deep. And that's when she realized she wasn't in love with the attention or the thrill. She was in love with him, with the way he listened, with the way he talked, like she mattered, with the way. He waited before touching her hand, like asking without asking. But he didn't love her, not really. He loved the version of her that wasn't hers to give, the version built from a borrowed name. That night, she cried in the bathroom, in silence. Because the more he saw her soul, the more the lie grew between them. And still, she couldn't stop. On Friday, he invited her to watch his volleyball practice. She said yes, but this time she wore her own hoodie, her own jeans, no makeup. He smiled when he saw her. "Rough morning?" He teased. She smiled back. "Rough life." He laughed, then softened. "I like you like this too." She froze. He meant it, and she hated how much that meant to her. They sat in the bleachers after practice. He handed her a water bottle. Their fingers touched. "Do you think people can really know each other?" he asked suddenly. "Like really know?" She nodded slowly. "If you stop pretending long enough," he turned to her. His eyes didn't blink. "I don't think you're pretending." She looked away. She couldn't answer. Not truthfully. Later, that night she received a text from Eun-ha. "Can we talk?" Just that. Nothing else. But it was enough to make her hands shake. The wall she built was starting to crack, and somewhere in that crack, truth waited, ready to shatter everything. It was Saturday afternoon. Warm breeze, sun high, school quiet. Ji-hoon had just texted her. "Ji-hoon, want to meet at the coffee place?" She typed out, "Eun-ji. I'll be there in 30. But before she could hit send, the bedroom door opened and Eun-ha was standing there, I know. Her voice was calm, too calm. Eun-ji's fingers froze over the screen. She didn't look up. "No what?" she asked softly. "Don't." Eun-ha walked inside, closed the door behind her. "You used my name, my clothes, my life." Eun-ji felt her throat tighten. "I didn't mean..." "Yes, you did." Silence. Then Eun-ha's voice cracked. "Did you think I wouldn't find out? People keep saying I'm acting different, softer, deeper, that I'm glowing." She laughed, bitterly. "That's not me, that's you," Eun-ji turned. "I was only supposed to cover for you one day. Then why did you keep going?" "I don't know." "Liar." Tears filled Eun-ji's eyes. "I didn't plan it. But you wanted it. I just..." Her voice cracked. "I just wanted to know what it felt like." Eun-ha crossed her arms. "To be me?" "No," Eun-ji whispered. "To be wanted." The door creaked behind them. Both girls turned, and Ji-hoon stood in the hallway, frozen, mouth slightly open. He had arrived early and heard everything. No one spoke for a long second. Then Ji-hoon said quietly, "Wanted." Eun-ji's heart dropped. "Ji-hoon." He stepped inside slowly, eyes on her, then on Eun-ha, then back. "You're not her." Eun-ji looked down. "I'm her sister." He blinked hard. "Wait, the twin?" She nodded. "I don't understand," he said, backing away. "You were pretending this whole time? It wasn't like that," she whispered. "But I told you things," he said, voice rising. "I shared things, real things. I listened. I felt it too. But it was a lie." "It wasn't," she said, desperate. "It started as one, but it stopped being fake a long time ago." He shook his head. "I looked for you, every day. I waited for you. Not her. You." Her voice trembled. "I'm still the same girl." "No," he said, stepping back. "You're not. Because she never lied to me." And then he looked at Eun-ha, anger burning behind his eyes. "You let this happen." She raised her chin. "I was sick. For one day." "What about the rest?" Eun-ha faltered. "I didn't think it would go this far." He turned to leave. Eun-ji grabbed his sleeve. "Please." He turned his head, eyes cold, voice sharp. "Who are you?" Her hand fell. She didn't answer. That night, Eun-ji sat alone in her room. No hoodie, no makeup, just herself, staring into nothing. Replay after replay in her mind. His voice, the look on his face, the word he used. Lie. She picked up her phone, typed, "A message, Eun-ji. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have pretended, but nothing I felt was fake." She hovered over send, then deleted it, and turned off the phone. At school, the silence was louder than words. She sat in the back. Ji-hoon avoided her. Even when she passed him in the hallway, she tried to look away, but every time she caught a glimpse of him, something broke. People whispered about the twins, about the volleyball. Captain, about betrayal. Eun-ha stayed quiet, avoided the cafeteria, did not sit next to Ji-hoon anymore, but she didn't defend her sister either. In biology, the teacher called her name wrong. "Eun-ha, can you?" Eun-ji didn't correct him, didn't even blink, just let the wrong name pass. One afternoon, she saw Ji-hoon sitting under the tree behind the gym, their place, alone. She stood far away, watching. then slowly walked closer. He didn't look up. "Can I sit?" she asked. He didn't answer. She sat anyway. For a while, neither said anything. Then she whispered, "I never thought anyone would look at me that way." He stared ahead. She continued, "Everyone always looks at her. Always. And I'm not saying. She doesn't deserve it. She's beautiful, smart, but I'm here too." Her voice shook. "I've always been here." He finally looked at her and said, "Then why didn't you let me meet you?" She wiped her cheek. "Because I didn't think you'd stay." Silence. She added, "I just wanted to be noticed. Once." He stood up, didn't say another word, walked away. No one noticed when Eun-ji stopped showing up to lunch. No one asked why she sat in the last row again. No one cared that the hoodie returned. The glasses. The silence. The version of her that people ignored had come back. And this time, she didn't fight it. The mirror didn't lie anymore. It showed her exactly who she was. Not the girl people chased, not the one boys watched, not the one Ji-hoon smiled for, just a girl. One of many, one of none. Eun-ha had returned to her usual self, too. Flawless hair, flashing smiles, back in the spotlight. But she looked tired, heavier, like the mask weighed more than before. In class, Ji-hoon sat near the window. His head always tilted slightly, like he was listening for something that wasn't. There's laughter, a voice, a soft reply. Nothing came. He hadn't talked to either twin since the confrontation. He barely spoke at all, not to his team, not to his friends, just moved like a ghost through the halls. One day after practice, his coach called. "Him out, you're not focused." Ji-hoon wiped sweat from his neck. "I'm trying. Whatever's in your head, solve it, or you're off the court next game." Ji-hoon nodded, but his thoughts stayed where they were. That night, he pulled out a photo from his drawer. It was from the day of the match. Eun-ha had taken a selfie with him. At least, that's what he thought, until he looked closer. The way she smiled, the way she held the drink. Not Eun-ha, her Eun-ji. He stared at the photo for a long time, then played back the memories, all the laughs, all the pauses, all the times she looked like she didn't know how to answer, but always did in the end. And suddenly a thought he had tried to ignore crept back in. What if it was real? The next day he waited in the library. She used to sit in the far left corner, alone with books stacked like walls, but she didn't come. He asked a classmate, "Have you seen Jang Eun-ji?" The girl frowned. "Who?" Ji-hoon's chest ached. "Never. Mind." At night he scrolled through their old messages, his words, her replies. He had told her things he never told anyone. Dreams, fears, songs that made him cry. He had never planned on falling, he just did. But it still hurt, still stung, because she had lied, used someone else's name, someone else's life. Even if her heart had been honest, her face wasn't. And that confusion ate at him. Was it all a game or a cry? Meanwhile, Eun-ji stayed home the rest of the week, said she had stomach flu. Her mother didn't ask questions. Her father didn't notice. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, sometimes reading, mostly just thinking. On the fourth day, Eun-ha entered, her room quietly, placed a bowl of porridge on the nightstand, then sat down beside her. They didn't speak at first. Then Eun-ha said, "You know, when we were little, everyone used to mix us up." Eun-ji nodded. "I hated it," Eun-ha added. "Me too. But then, people stopped confusing us. They just picked me." Silence. "And I didn't do anything to stop it," Eun-ha admitted. Eun-ji turned her head. "I didn't do anything to deserve it either." Tears welled. Eun-ha reached out, touched her sister's hand. "You deserve love, Eun-ji, not because you pretended, but because of who you are." Eun-ji blinked hard. "Then why does it feel like I lost everything?" Eun-ha didn't answer, just squeezed her hand and stayed. At school, Ji-hoon walked past the rooftop, paused. He remembered the way she once looked at the sky, as if waiting for something to fall from it. A sign, a chance. A new life. He looked up too, but there was only blue. That night he went back to the cafe, the one they visited on their second not date. He sat in the same seat, ordered 2 drinks, left one untouched. He pulled out a pen, grabbed a napkin, and I wrote 3 words. Was any of it real? Then folded it, put it in his pocket, and left. He didn't know if he missed the girl she pretended to be, or the girl she was underneath it all. But he knew one thing for sure. She made him feel something. Real, and maybe that meant something still mattered. Graduation day. Banners flapped in the wind. Chairs lined up in the school courtyard. Parents fanned themselves. Teachers smiled politely, and students waited, some impatient, some emotional. Among them, Ji-hoon stood in his uniform, back straight. Hands in his pockets, eyes scanning the crowd. He wasn't looking for the cameras or for the stage, he was looking for her. Eun-ji hadn't planned to attend. She almost didn't. But her mother left a neatly ironed uniform on the bed that morning, and her father knocked once, just once, and said, "I think you'll regret it if you don't go." So she went. No makeup, hair tied simply, notebook in her bag like always. When she arrived, no one noticed. No one stared. Not until she crossed the courtyard and Ji-hoon turned. Their eyes met. He took a step forward. She froze. Then the principal tapped the mic. "Students, faculty, families, welcome." Ji-hoon didn't move, didn't sit, didn't blink. Eun-ji looked away, tried to disappear, but this time he wouldn't let her. As the speech went on, Ji-hoon quietly stepped back, walked behind the stage, took a breath, then walked onto it. Everyone turned. The principal stuttered. "Kim Ji-hoon, we're not I'm sorry," he said calmly. "I need to say something." Eun-ji's heart dropped. People murmured. Phones came out, but he didn't look at them. He looked at her and started speaking. "There's a girl here today," he said, voice clear. "Most of you never noticed her. She doesn't raise her hand, doesn't take selfies, doesn't try to be seen, but she saw me." Silence. Even the wind seemed to pause. She made me laugh when I thought I was tired of people. She listened when I didn't know I needed to speak. And yeah, she lied to me. Louder murmurs. Eun-ji looked down, her hands trembling. But what she gave me was the most honest thing I've ever felt. She made me feel real. She made this. He gestured to the cap, the uniform, the school. Matter. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a folded napkin. "Read it aloud. Was any of it real?" He looked up. "Yes," he said firmly. "It was. Even if her name was wrong, even if her clothes were borrowed, she's the first truth I ever knew." Then he stepped down, walked through the rows, straight to her. Eun-ji tried to speak, tried to breathe, but all she managed was, "Why now?" He smiled. "Because I didn't want the memory of this day to be me losing you." She blinked fast. "But everyone's watching." "I know. They'll judge us." "Let them." She bit her lip. He touched her hand, gently, then lifted it, placed it over his heart. "You made me feel something I didn't know I was missing. Even if it started with a lie, you're the one I saw." Tears slipped from her eyes. She whispered, "I'm scared." "So am I," he said, "but I'm more scared of never feeling that again." And then he leaned in, soft, no performance, no drama, just one boy, one girl, one truth, and kissed her. The courtyard erupted, laughter, cheers, gasps, but for them, it was quiet, like they were alone finally. He pulled back, forehead against hers, whispered, "I like the girl who hides, the one who listens, the one who writes things she'll never say. And if that's you, then I'm yours." She smiled, through tears, and said, "You were always mine." That night, they sat under the stars, in their uniforms, fingers intertwined. No titles, no lies, just the truth. And in her notebook, Eun-ji wrote, "He fell for the wrong girl, but the wrong girl was finally right."